You listen to the Gary Owen Podcast. Hashtag Get Some. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some Podcast. As always, you can listen to this on iTunes or go to youtube.com/GaryOwenCom. I'm going to say that one more time for the slow people. youtube.com/GaryOwenCom. Quick run over of my schedule. August 30th, I am in Tunica, Mississippi, Robinsonville, Mississippi. It's right outside of Memphis at the Horseshoe Casino. And then August 31st, I'm in the Bahamas at the Nassau, Bahamas, the Baha Mar Resort, performing there. So 31st. And then the first week in September, I am in Tacoma, Washington, right outside of Seattle. And I'm going to the game that week. And then September 13th, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona with Lil Duval. And then September 20th to the 22nd, I'm in Chicago, Illinois, which is Schaumburg, suburb of Illinois, at the Improv out there. So that's my schedule. I'm going to talk about a few things today about comedians. Somebody's asked me the other day. I've really been enjoying some of the feedback I get off my podcast, and what I've learned is every time I bring up a comic's name on my podcast, it gets back to that comic, good or bad, and not even bad. Just bringing up stuff. A lot of comics, if you say anything about them, it shows you where their mental state is. Because if you say something about somebody and you're just speaking about an incident that happened, and if you're not lying, it's not like you're saying you're putting that person down or saying they're an asshole. It's just, it happened. Something happened, and it is what it is. Like I talked about a few weeks ago, I talked about this guy, Javon Pearson, out of Philly. And I just stated a couple stories that happened with me and this guy, Javon, 20 years ago. And then one happened like 3 years ago. And a lot of times people confuse facts with accusations. When you're just telling a story about somebody, you're not indicting them on being a bad person or they're an asshole. It's just some people do stuff when they're younger and stupid. And that story I told about this Philly and that guy taking my rent-a-car and stuff, it was stupid on his part. I didn't say he was stupid. I didn't say he's a bad person or anything. But just like I was listening to Ari Spears on. First, I listen. I enjoy listening to Aries interviews because, like Aries, or if you don't like Aries, he's gonna give you his honest opinion, and that is refreshing. Like he's talked about Kevin Hart. He's talked about Naeem Lynn. He talked about Jordan Peele, and even at his own accord, he went on ComedyHype.com. Comedy Hype's a really cool new comedy website. They do interviews. I'm sure I'll get interviewed by them one day, but I really enjoy their interviews because they're not biased. They're not leading people on. They're letting people answer honestly, however they want to answer. So Ari Spears is on there, and Aries was talking about Jordan Peele. He's talking about Key and Peele, and he talked about Jordan Peele like 3 or 4 years ago on Vlad TV. And he had said, I worked with them on Mad TV. They're talented. He goes, but, they're two black guys, and they live in a white world, is what he was saying. They got white wives, and he goes, that's why at this time I think that movie Keanu was coming out. And he was talking about, it was brilliant how they did this movie, really what they're about. They're black guys that if they was going to walk into a room with a bunch of black guys, Ari said the N-word, they'd be looking at him like, something ain't right with these two. That's what Ari said. Fast forward to Jordan Peele does Get Out, makes over $100 million. And then Jordan Peele was one of the producers and co-creators of The Last OG, Tracy Morgan Show. And Ari said he had to audition for The Last OG. So he had to walk into the room, and Jordan was sitting there. And he was like, oh, shit. And Aries is basically saying what I'm saying. When you talk about somebody, just assume they're going to hear it, whether it's a podcast or a radio interview. Just before you plan on going in on somebody, just know it's going to get back to him. And so Aries was like, he even said it. He goes, I was kind of thinking maybe I shouldn't have gone in on him. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. He goes, but to Jordan's credit, he said he was cordial, he was polite, did the audition, everything was smooth. Aries left. He goes, now, did that affect me getting the part or didn't it? I don't know. He was like, but looking back on it, I'm not sure I would have voiced that in the interview. And more recently, Aries went in on Naeem Lynn and a couple other people. Now he talks good about some people too, but man, when he goes in, he goes hard. He digs both feet in and he goes in, which honestly makes for good interviews. And I don't necessarily agree, because I always say, if I got problems with certain people in this business, sometimes it's valid and sometimes it's my own brain playing tricks on me when it really isn't the case. I'm thinking somebody has a problem with me when they probably don't, like I think one guy for about a month I thought had a problem with me. And then I went, I think it's me, was this guy, Carlos Miller, who's on the 85 South show with DC Young Fly and Chico Bean. Now, I don't know Carlos that well. I've heard nothing but good things about him on the road. But here, my brain playing tricks on me. We do this special with DeMarcus Cousins, and he's nice to me. He's cordial. Hi. We get in the van. We drive over to the hotel, and I tried to engage a little bit with him, but he wasn't really being receptive. And so I just got quiet, and we rode the hotel. And then like a week after we filmed the special, I did that Twitter post where Damian Lillard hit that shot, and I spelled out N-word. I didn't say it. I spelled out N-word in a post. And Carlos said, damn, Gary, that's really how you feel? And he's never commented on, as far as I know, on anything else that I've ever said or done. And then I was watching the Wildin' Out episode that I did, and I looked, and Carlos never smiled or laughed at any of my bits. So in my brain, I go, I don't think he likes me. But I don't even know. It could all be in my brain. Maybe Carlos doesn't like me. Maybe it's just me looking too deep into something. But I don't have nothing bad to say about Carlos. Looking at it now, I'm like, it could just all be in my head. Carlos might have had a long day in that van ride. Maybe he didn't want to talk to anybody, let alone me. So here I am thinking, I don't think he really wants to talk to me. What really might have been, just got off the plane, went straight to walkthrough for this special we filmed, and just needed some downtime. I get that. Wildin' Out. Maybe he didn't think my shit was funny. Doesn't mean he doesn't like me. Maybe he think that bit I did on Wildin' Out wasn't funny. Again, maybe he honestly didn't appreciate the tweet I sent out. I don't know. But add those three things together in my own brain, I'm thinking, I don't think Carlos Miller likes me that much. Where if I really break it down, if I take every incident by itself, there's a logical explanation for it. But that's one of them cases where my brain might have been playing tricks on me. And even me doing this podcast and bringing up Carlos's name, he's going to hear about it. There's no doubt he's going to hear what I just said. Somebody's going to send it to him. And like I said, and that's the funny thing. Somebody could be like, oh, Gary Owen's going in on you on his podcast. No, I wasn't. I just said my own brain was playing tricks on me. I think. Because I don't have a bad thing to say about Carlos Miller. Nothing. I just was like, I don't think that guy likes me. I got to get over that too. Not everybody's going to like you. That's just a fact in this business. For instance, I know there's a comedian out there named James Davis who isn't fond of me. And I don't think I've ever met him. But he's made numerous comments on other people's pages, never on mine, slighting me and kind of going in on me a little bit. And I sent him a message. I sent him a DM. I go, hey man, as comedians, I don't, what I would love to hear what you deem a comedian should and shouldn't say. Because I think as comedians, we shouldn't be offended by anything because we're comedians. Nothing is off limits. I watched Comedians in Cars with Jerry Seinfeld and Eddie Murphy. And Jerry Seinfeld said it best. He was like, dude, we don't get, a real comedian does not get offended by things, because Jerry Seinfeld said, one guy even said, hey man, did you hear so-and-so died? And Jerry Seinfeld said, I was sick of him anyways. This is right after the guy died, which is freaking hysterical. Like if somebody would have, even if that was my dad or anything like that, I would have gave a little chuckle. I'd be like, that's fucked up. But it's, they don't mean it. It's just boom. I would have loved to seen the reaction of everybody when Chris Farley died. Because he was one of those guys, I think everybody loved him. And they loved him so much that even though he died tragically, it's almost like it's a sign of how much they love you by going in on you. Even right after you died. I would have loved to have been at that funeral or just been around when those guys got the news that Chris Farley passed away. Because I bet you're going to cry in private and you're going to mourn by yourself. But it's a perfect time to get a zinger off. And hopefully, if there's a heaven, like we hope, hopefully Chris is up there and he's saying, oh, he got me. That motherfucker got me. As soon as I died, he got me. And that's how our minds work. That's just how it works. So yeah, this comedian James Davis, he clearly doesn't like me for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but he don't like me because it's not been one, it's been a couple. And I sent him a message going, dude, I said, dude, I would love to discuss with you what you deem is offensive or not offensive as a comedian. I would like to talk. I said, you can call me or you can come on my podcast or we can just meet up and talk. I'm not one of these guys be like, man, motherfucker, you gonna win on me? We going head to head. I'm like, nah, let's talk to me. Let's figure out what I just find it interesting. Somebody I've never had any interaction with, and I don't even know if I've ever really met him or not. What his deal is with me, I don't know, and I'm sure this will get back to him. Well, I'm just burning bridges all day today in the first 10 minutes of my podcast. But I wanted to just talk about comedians this podcast because, a lot of people, Ari says he feels somewhat blackballed in this business because he's so honest and opinionated. And a lot of times I think you got to hold, if you don't have anything good to say about somebody, when you really go in on people, sometimes is it worth it? Is it worth it to say, I think a lot of comics like to say, I don't give a fuck. Or, dude, I'm going to voice my opinion regardless. Listen, let's just be honest. We all talk about people behind their backs. All comics do. You get 4 comics in the room. We start telling Rose stories. We're going to talk about certain comics. What this guy did this or this guy did this. Doesn't mean we don't like them. Doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means maybe they did something fucked up that weekend. Or most of the time we're just laughing about the fucked up shit we did to each other. Like I brought up Tone Bell a few times in my podcast in the past. And honestly, me and Tone are like really cool now. And I didn't go in on him. I just was stating some things that has gone on in his career that was basically given the state of the entertainment business. It was not an indictment on Tone himself. I basically was saying Tone Bell's been on TV consistently for the past 5 years. He's gone from sitcom to sitcom to sitcom to sitcom, but it hasn't resonated with like ticket sales and being a huge comic on the road because it's just where people's attention spans are now. Now people aren't watching sitcoms like they used to. It used to be that was the golden ticket. You get it on a sitcom, you were all of a sudden headlining theaters that fast. It's not like that anymore at all. And I brought up Tone's name because he's consistently working in Hollywood. But if you go to the airport, Tone wouldn't get stopped as much as like a reality star. You can get somebody that's on Love and Hip Hop and people would stop that person before they stop Tone. Yet Tone's probably been on TV more than that reality star person. And Tone, like, he told me, he goes, man, it took me a minute and I really thought, I heard what you were saying. I realized, oh, he's not going in on me. He's just stating where we're at in the entertainment business right now. It's the whole reason I have a podcast. I didn't want to do a podcast 2-3 years ago. I thought, I ain't doing no podcast, man. And then when I see how it really is, essential now. I'm surprised, and I was talking about this with somebody. And I'm a white guy, but I'm essentially a black comic. I'm an urban comic. I'm surprised more black comics don't have podcasts, their own podcasts. You got 85 South, you got DC, Chico Bean, and Carlos Miller, which they're killing it. They have found their audience, and their audience is riding for them. Corey Holcomb's got the 5150 show. And now that show isn't as big as 85 South show, but it's got its own hardcore, diehard audience. People that listen to 5150 love Corey. Recently, I think Finesse Mitchell has one with his wife. And I can't think of too many other black or urban comics that have their own podcasts on the regular. I think Guy Torrey's got one, but there's not a ton. And if you look at the numbers, the sheer numbers, like the comics like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen, I mean, those guys, or Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, they all got podcasts, and they're all killing it and selling more tickets and creating a full-time living for themselves off their podcast. And so when I saw that, I go, oh. And it's funny, like the reaction I got when I did Bert Kreischer's podcast, when I went on Theo Vaughn's podcast. Now, it didn't translate into a bunch. I did get a few new fans, a few new people that said they found me because of that. But it wasn't like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? It wasn't like, because if you look at my podcast and like the YouTube views I get, it's not like blow you away numbers. Decent, but not blow you away. It's not like, I call it like Joe Rogan is the head. He's the top dog. And then he's got all these like, it's almost like a trickle down effect. You got Theo's been a regular on Joe, and Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, and even Bobby Lee and Joey Diaz. All these guys are trickle down effects, and because Joe talks about Bobby a lot in his podcast, but their numbers are through the roof, and it's crazy how Joe Rogan got in the podcast game early. And I went back on YouTube one day. I was bored one day, and I went back and searched like. You can go to somebody's YouTube page and you can go like oldest to newest. So I went oldest, and his oldest was like 2010, and it was brutal. It was like visually it wasn't very good, audio wasn't very good. I mean, the content is the content, but it was just like, but he was figuring it out as he went. And then all of a sudden there was a slow transformation. All of a sudden the video started getting a little clearer, and then the audio got better, and then all of a sudden he was actually in a studio. And then he had guessed it, because at first he was like, damn, they're Skyping somebody or something. He was with other people, and then he was by himself, and then he started having guests, and then it was just like, it just happened. He became the white male Oprah is really what he is. I mean, the fact that his podcast is a full-time job now, because Joe Rogan's career is basically UFC announcer, and then when he's smart, then when UFC has their big events, UFC 286, the fights are Saturday night. Joe will be in concert Friday night because he knows all them people are going to be in town for this UFC fight. And when you think UFC, you think Joe Rogan. The fighters come and go, but you think Dana White and Joe Rogan for sure. Like if I turn into a UFC title fight and Joe Rogan's not the announcer, I get a little like, I want to hear what Joe has to say. Almost like Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant, HBO boxing. That's what you think about. They help make the fights. I wanted to hear Jim Lampley's voice. I wanted to hear Larry Merchant and Jim Gray. Oh, Jim Gray. Jim Gray and Larry Merchant were some of the best after fight because they would ask the boxers everything. And that goes back to some of the boxers said they didn't like them, but they were asking honest questions. And I think some of the comics, that's how we are. We don't be honest with me. I didn't do that. Like I said, we confuse facts with accusations. It was almost like when I got the hosting job on Comic View, I got a lot of heat and backlash from a lot of comics because I was a white guy. And I remember asking Samore about it. I was like, Samore, man, I had this crazy thought in my brain when I started doing stand-up that all comics got along and we helped each other and supported each other. And then when I got that hosting job on BET, I went, oh shit. I was like, why are people mad at me for taking a job? And then some more. I remember asking some more because some more had hosted a few years before I did. And she goes, Gary, no matter who gets the job, somebody's going to be mad. They go, you just make it easy because you're white. It's easy to be mad at you. It's right there. Like, boom. She goes, I was the first woman to host Comic View. So some people weren't happy about that. Now, they weren't going to out and out be like, she's a woman. But she goes, I got some shit that came back to me that I found out. And I just think when you go in on somebody like that, going back to Aries and more recently Monique too, it's like, I just think it's not worth burning the bridges. If I have like issues with people, like serious issues, I'm just going to keep it to myself. Because like I said earlier with the Carlos Miller, that was probably my own brain playing tricks on me. He probably didn't do nothing. Honestly, Carlos probably didn't give two shits or two thoughts about what I was thinking about. But I was like, wonder why he don't like me. But I would never be like, Carlos Miller's an asshole. No, I would never say that. He didn't do anything wrong. It was all my own brain. So going back to not burning bridges, when Ari said that, I was happy to see Ari admit. He's like, man, maybe I shouldn't have did that. Maybe I shouldn't have gone in on Key and Peele like that. Because then you never know when you got to come back. Like, who saw Jordan Peele being this huge horror director now? Like, he's the A-list guy. He's the Black Stephen King is what he is. And just he's calling his own shots now. You want to be in with a guy like that, not against a guy like that. There was a point where I remember we were shooting Think Like a Man. Again, my own brain playing tricks on me. I thought Kev had an issue with me because I remember Kev invited, and I think I've told this story in the past. He invited all the guys to come see him perform at the Laugh Factory. He was working on a new hour, and I didn't get invited. So he invited Jerry Ferrera, Romany Malco, Michael Ealy, and Terrence J. I kept waiting for him to come over to me. He never did. And I went, and then, so he went up on a Sunday night. So we were off on the weekends. So we worked Friday, off Saturday. Everybody, all the guys went and saw Kev Sunday. I didn't go. And then Monday, we come back to work and everybody was talking about Kevin's set the night before. And somebody said, Gary, why didn't you go? I go, I wasn't invited. And I said it almost, I wanted Kev to hear it, but I don't know. And Kev looked at me and he goes, you ever feel like an asshole sometimes? So again, it was I'm thinking in my brain, man, why the fuck didn't Kevin invite me? What the fuck? I didn't do that. Why don't he like me? And really it was, I guess, and I can't speak for Kevin, but it was probably the whole, Gary's a comedian. He knows he can show up if he wants to. He's got open door at all the comedy clubs. I don't need to invite a comedian to a comedy club. It's probably what was going through his brain. But in my brain, I was like, motherfucker, you invite everybody else. Why didn't you invite me? Then come to work on Monday and it really was just an oversight. It was nothing. But that weekend in my brain, I was like, man. And then everybody's on social media we at Kev's show. And I'm going, man, fuck these motherfuckers. I hope this movie tanks. No, I'm just kidding. But even more recently, last month, Monique went on. I'm telling you, comedy hype. The guy that's interviewing these comics, man, he has a way of having them open up. He doesn't lead them in any way. He just says, hey, I read this. Is this true? And they state if it's true or not. So Monique now is, and listen, I've always liked Monique. She was always nice to me in person. And even when I did the thing a year and a half ago when she was going in on all the other, when she was going in on Oprah and Lee Daniels and Will Packer, my only issue with Monique was I don't know the Oprah situation. I don't know the Lee Daniels situation. I don't know that. I don't know the Tyler Perry situation. My only issue back then was she compared Will Packer to Harvey Weinstein. And I thought, that's a little much. And honestly, I just was defending my friend. And I didn't think it was going to go viral like that. But like I said, if you talk about somebody, it's going to get back to them. And sure enough, it did. I just thought, now, obviously, I almost wanted to be like, Mo, you know damn good and well, Will ain't like Harvey Weinstein. If you in your heart of hearts know, that is a terrible comparison. And now, more recently, she went in on Steve Harvey, and then it was Whoopi Goldberg, and then Charlamagne the God. And listen, like I said, I've always liked Monique. She's always been nice to me in person. She was the first person to put me on her talk show when she had the Monique show on BET, and I'll never forget that. But like I said, I'm not saying Monique's a bad person or I don't like her, but I don't have to agree with everything she says either. Like the Charlamagne one, I didn't agree when the Comedy Hype guy said, he said, recently Charlamagne's been a big advocate for mental health. And Monique like laughed and like almost like downplayed. And listen, Charlamagne, the reason the Breakfast Club is what it is, and this is no disrespect to DJ Envy or Angela Yee, is Charlamagne is the reason that show is really taken off like it has. Now, there's chemistry, don't get it twisted, between those three. But Charlamagne knows how to dig into people and not mean-spirited, not trying to make people feel bad, but he's so brutally honest, and he says it to their face. That's the thing. A lot of people don't want to say shit to your face. They want to talk behind your back, talk on a podcast. I'll be honest with you. Charlamagne makes me uncomfortable sometimes. The way he be talking to people, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd say that to him. I mean, one of the most tense you ever want to see a tense interview? Look up The Breakfast Club, Benny Siegel. That interview alone, I was like, man, and Charlamagne never backed down. He stuck to his guns, and he kept asking Benny tough questions, and that's why Birdman went off on him. Because Charlamagne did not say anything. He just said a bunch of stuff about the Birdman that was, again, fact. People confuse fact. I hate to keep saying that, but people confuse facts with accusations. And he was stating a lot of facts a lot of people do not want to talk about. But that's why the Breakfast Club is what it is, because Charlamagne is so brutally honest. And he does talk about mental health. He does talk about going to therapy. And I didn't like Charlamagne before I met him. I thought he was an asshole. And then when I met him, I went, oh, he's not. He's just a nice guy. I mean, not a nice guy. He was just an honest dude. And let me tell you, that guy, we got good chemistry together when I'm on the Breakfast Club, because I can bounce off him and he can bounce off me. And it's just, I've learned to really like that guy and appreciate what he's bringing to the ecosystem of entertainment. And whereas, and sometimes I want to look at Monique and be like, what are you doing? You're just burning so many bridges. And I know what she's doing. She says I'm doing this for the women that come after me. But it's gotten to a point where if you don't agree with Monique, you're against her. When a lot of times I think people are really trying to give her advice to help her, but she's taking it as you're attacking me, or because it's like Whoopi pulled her aside and talked to her, and then Monique said, Whoopi broke her heart, and then Steve pulled her aside and tried to talk to her, and then Charlamagne, which she calls him Leonard, which is hysterical. When she gets on to Charlamagne, when her and her husband was saying he's making all this poison he's putting into our society and off the airwaves. I go, no. We need Charlamagne on the airwaves because he's so brutally honest, and he doesn't give you a pass because you're black. Some people it's pro-black, and like they can't. It's almost like with these cop brutality cases, you hate to lump them all together, but sometimes black people are criminals, and they did do something wrong, and the cop should have arrested him, and the cop should have shot him. He was a threat to society. And Charlamagne does not give people passes for that reason. Now, granted, there's a lot of cases where the cop shouldn't have shot that dude. The cop shouldn't have arrested that dude. It goes both ways. But Charlamagne makes sure he doesn't lump everybody together. And it's needed. Like, I listen to Charlamagne's Donkey of the Day, and 90% of it is right. That person deserved it. And that was like Monique's big thing was, you're going to give somebody Donkey of the Day for trying to get more money on Netflix? And the one that made the most sense, DJ Envy said the thing that made the most sense, where he said when Monique was trying to get the money from Netflix that she thought she deserved, he said, when Monique kept saying, I'm a legend, Robbie Pra kept saying, you're a legend, Monique, but he wasn't offering me legend money. And like DJ Envy said, I couldn't figure out who was right, who was wrong in that situation. But DJ Envy said, listen, the Fat Boys and Big Daddy Kane are rap legends, but they're not going to get as much money as like Lil Pump right now, because Lil Pump will probably sell more tickets. And right now, I'm just throwing out a name, Lil Pump. I don't know. One of the baby rappers, Lil Baby, Da Baby, one of the baby rappers right now. Or like YG or something like that. Now, granted, those guys are legends, but at this stage of their careers, they're not generating as many ticket sales, and they can't make a promoter enough money, and you can't throw them on something and you can't do a whole tour at an arena with just the Fat Boys right now. But it doesn't mean their place in hip hop history is any less. And that made the most sense. Like, yeah, Monique's a legend in comedy, Queens of Comedy, the Parkers, the Precious. But as far as like what's gonna get people excited to watch on Netflix, Monique definitely would have a presence. Monique definitely would get viewers, but I don't know if it justifies a $15-20 million deal in that retrospect. And I think when people are just trying to talk to her, a lot of times she thinks they're attacking her or they're judging her, when I look at it like a lot of people are trying to give her advice and just like, hey, Mo, man, come on, man, come back a little bit. Not everybody's against you. Like, I'm not against her. I want her to do well. I'm just not a mean, like, I guess I don't have like, I'm at a point in my life where I don't wish bad things on people. I just wish people could admit when they're wrong. Like, I'm not right all the time at all. Even like I was talking earlier about the James Davis dude who clearly has an issue with me. I would love to sit down and talk with the guy to find out why, and maybe build a bridge with him. Like I said, I'm that guy, and I say, I don't care what people think, and I don't give a fuck. Someone don't like me, they don't like me. No, I kind of want everybody to like me. As a comedian, you go in front of the audience, and you want the audience to like you. And speaking of Monique, she gave me some great advice one time. We did a benefit for Eric Davis, probably 18, 19 years ago, the baseball player. He used to play for the Reds and the Cardinals and the Dodgers. He had a big benefit, and I remember Cedric was on it, Guy Torrey was on it, I was on it, Monique was on it. And I remember talking to her, and I was like, I said something like, how you be feeling, man? I think I said, this is like a hell gig. I go, because you had a lot of corporate people there. They were eating dinner while we went up. And I remember going, this is like a hell gig, man. You don't know what you're getting with shows like this. And she goes, Gary, I just want people to like me. She goes, if I get on stage and I get them to like me, they'll kind of go wherever you want with you. And I'll never forget that. I go, oh yeah. Because you see some comics, they'll go to cities and they'll bag on the city. Like not in a loving way either. Like, your city ain't shit. This dirty ass, nasty city with your sorry ass, ugly women. And she's like, I've seen comics do that. I'm like, dude, when do you get everybody mad at you? And I was like, yeah. So I've always tried to go the route, and it's because of Monique, where I was like, I just try to get the audience to like me in the beginning. And I feel like once they like you, they'll kind of go anywhere with you. And you can still talk about bad neighborhoods, but still talk about good parts of the city too. And I never forgot that. So it's not like I don't like Monique. I just think, at what point do you realize, dude, all these people, you're going in on all these different people that have, good reputations in this business. And I'm not saying all of them are right. Like, I've never spoke on the Oprah or the Lee Daniels or the Tyler Perry, because I don't know that. But I do know Will Packer. And I know his character, and I know the type of man he is, and I know I didn't think that was a good comparison with Harvey Weinstein. But even with when she went on Steve, I knew what Steve was trying to say. Steve was, and it didn't come out right at all, but Steve was trying to say, listen, you can have your integrity, but if your integrity is going to make you broke and bitter and you can't work in this business, then what do you got? You got your integrity, but you're homeless, or you can't make a living, and listen, play whatever entertainment game we call it. But if you're more popular and have more power, you have a bigger voice, and then you can really get your point across to more people, and more people will listen. So That's what if I give any advice to Monique, it'd be like, not everybody is against you. Not everybody's trying to attack you. Like, some people are really trying to help you, and you don't have to agree with what they're saying, but listen to them and realize where they're coming from. Not everybody's coming from a place of like, you're just wrong, Monique, and everything. Nah, some people are really trying to help you out. So I think I've talked enough about the bad. Let's talk about some good stuff. About a couple months ago, I talked about this movie Fatherhood that I really wanted. Like, I called Kevin Hart about it. I called Harry, his right hand. I called Wayne, his left hand. I had my agency on it. Well, I didn't get the part, and it went to Lil Rel. Lil Rel got the part. Now, honestly, I didn't think I'd be up for too many parts with Lil Rel. He's black, I'm white. And I was disappointed, but at no point was I mad that Lil Rel got it. I was actually okay with it because I know Lil Rel's a good guy, and I know he's going to kill the role. And I read the script. I really fell in love with this character when I read the script, and I was like, man, and that's only happened a few times in my career where I read a script like, I really want to play this, and I really thought I had a shot at it. So I'm a little disappointed I didn't get it. I'm happy for Lil Rel. This is not a knock on him. And then I see a picture of Kev and Lil Rel and the guy playing Kev's best friend. Lil Rel's one of his friends. But this guy, I'm going to tell you who he is. I'm going to look him up real quick. Lil Rel, where you at? Why is it? I tried to type in Lil Rel and my computer went Lionel. Dang, Lil Rel, what's your free Instagram page? Lil Rel, where you at? Let me just look. Let me just search. Lil Rel. This shouldn't be that hard. There it is. Comedian Lil Rel's Instagram. He just posted a picture with this guy. Okay, so you got Kevin, and you got Lil Rel, and then you got this guy Anthony Kerrigan. So Anthony Kerrigan's a white dude. He's playing Kevin's best friend, and then Lil Rel's playing one of his other good friends. So I saw a picture of Kevin, Anthony Kerrigan, and Lil Rel looking into a baby crib. And it was basically three friends looking at Kevin's child. And when I saw it, I go, makes sense. I was like, it hit me. I go, that makes more sense. Kev's a black dude. He's the lead of this movie. It might be a little odd to see his two best friends were white dudes. So it just visually, and it just made a little more sense that he would have a white friend and a black friend. And when I saw, and the way they placed it too, it was Kevin, Anthony, then Lil Rel. Not Kev, Lil Rel, Anthony. But I was just like, oh, that's okay. It just visually I saw it, and I've read the script, so I know what everyone's bringing to these characters. And I went, perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. So, yeah, I didn't get the part in Father, but I'm happy for Lil Rel, man. I'm always happy for that guy's success. He's a nice guy. He's a good dude at the core. So, yeah, I didn't get the part because a couple people asked, you got the part? You got the part in it? I was like, no. It's funny, too, because I did the audition, and I always think, like, sometimes I think when I don't get parts, I'm thinking, oh, they fucked up. I always think that. That's the cocky in me. But I'm also not mad when somebody else gets it. But the only thing that sucks, and I was talking about this with the comic the other day, is I'm at a point now when I audition for things, I know I'm probably up against an offer, which means I'm auditioning for this part in this movie or this TV show, but they probably got an offer out to somebody already. So I'm almost like a backup plan. Like, if this guy doesn't take the part, then we might offer it to Gary or somebody else. Because I remember the one movie that I was like, well, one was Barbershop. I never got an audition. But when I read that script, I was like, oh, I can kill that white barber. But there's this movie about 20 years ago called Dude, Where's My Car? And I'll never forget, I go into audition for this movie, and I know I did good in the audition. I knew it. I knew the way the casting director was responding to me. And I was like, oh, I think I did good in that one. Sometimes you leave the room, you're like, that wasn't that great. That one I feel really good about. And talk about more recently, though, Ken Jeong had a TV show. I thought I killed that audition playing one of the doctors in his office, but I almost reached out to Ken. I was like, hey, Ken, But I didn't get the part, whatever. But I left there. Then I flew. I remember I did the audition, and then I drove to the airport, and I flew to, I think I flew into Miami that weekend. I was at the Improv. And then I get a call that weekend. They really liked your audition. They want you to come back. What? So I come back, audition again. Now I'm in front of more people. And I was like, I did good again. And then they said, yeah, my agent called me. They go, they really like you. They go, there's an offer out. And they wouldn't tell me who. They go, there's an offer out right now. They said, if this person doesn't take it, you got a good shot. I said, no way. So now I'm just waiting. And long story short, it was Ashton Kutcher. There was already an offer out to Ashton, and he was waiting to see if he was going to take it or not. So I remember when the movie came out, I go, motherfucker, you could have passed on that. And then here's what made it worse. So they're shooting that. So I'm waiting like a week to find out if I got this part or not. I'm really excited. And then they brought me in for a smaller part. Once Ashton took the part, the studio or the director liked me, so they brought me in for another part, and they offered me this small part with no lines. If you see the movie Where's My Car, it's the detective. There's two detectives in a room, and they were abusing a blow-up doll. Basically, they were like questioning them, like in the question room, but it was a blow-up doll. So basically, you were like burning cigarettes on them and beating this doll up. They offered me that part. But it was like a one-day shoot. And like I said, I can make more money. And I feel like that wasn't going to do anything for my career. So I just said, I passed and I went to whatever comedy club that weekend. So I didn't take it. But it was still cool. They offered it to me. But I was like, I'd rather do stand-up than cancel. I would have had to cancel. I would have did it if I didn't have nothing else going on. I would have had to cancel stand-up dates to do this 1 or 2 day shoot of abusing this dummy, this blow up, CPR dummy or something. And so then here's what's funny. So I don't get the part. They offer me a small part. I say no. Then the next week they're shooting. I'm not lying. Where I lived at the time in La Crescenta, California is where I lived, which is a suburb of LA. Whenever they're shooting a movie, they'll put these big yellow signs. And it won't say what movie it is. It'll have initials, but it's giving like people directions or whatever to let you know we're shooting. It said DWMC. Dude, where's my car? It was the initials. And I'm in the business, so I knew. I was like, wait a minute. DWMC? That could be Dude, where's my car? So I drive by this convenience store. They're shooting there. I go, motherfuckers. They were shooting something like around that area, but I saw the trailers. I saw it's like this. Motherfucker. I was supposed to be in that. Not I was supposed to be in it. I was supposed to be in it. I was like, yeah, I would have liked to have been in it. I'll never say I'm supposed to be in it. I always go back to Ice Cube. What's meant for you is meant for you. If it's not meant for you, then it ain't meant for you. Because I've heard a couple people say that before, like I should have got that part. I'll never forget Guy Torrey. He did a movie with, let me IMDb it, with Rob Schneider. What's it called? The Animal, I think? How come every time I try to type something in, my computer goes down? Like, hold on, let me look up Guy Torrey real quick. Okay, Guy Torrey. It was like, God, that movie had to be like 20 years ago. 2003, Pearl Harbor, The Strip, Trippin', The Animal. Yeah, The Animal. What year did that come out? 2001. Fuck. 18 years ago? That's crazy. So Guy got a part in The Animal with Rob Schneider. And I'll never forget, we were at the Improv on Melrose. And this one dude came up and goes, "You took my part." And Guy was like, "What?" He goes, "You took my part, man. I auditioned for that thing like 2 times and they gave it to you." And I remember thinking, how do you respond to that? As Guy sitting there, how does he respond to "you took my part and I auditioned for it 3-4 times. Like, I deserve that. You don't." And the guy was like laughing and kind of, but there was a little like awkwardness to him coming up to Guy like that. And I go, I will never say that to somebody. I would never go up to Ashton Kutcher and be like, "You took my part. I thought I auditioned like 2 times, man. Nah, it just wasn't meant to be mine." I would never go up to like Troy Garrity, who played the barber in Barbershop and be like, I was supposed to play that part. You took my part. Nah, just wasn't meant to be. Because in the same token, I know I've gotten parts that were offered to me that probably somebody's auditioned for. This movie I'm getting ready, this movie I just shot in Winnipeg. Michael Jai White got me the part. I worked with him in Undercover Brother, and he's the one that got me the part in this movie. And it's crazy how I got it because he DM'd me saying, hey, man, I'm getting ready to do this movie, man. I want to call me, man. I want to give you some info on it, see if you're interested. So I called him. We talked on the phone, and he said, yeah, they got an offer out to somebody else. And he wouldn't tell me who. He goes, but I'm not really feeling it. He goes, I want to have somebody that's funny that can bring, a little flavor to it that and they can dig on me a little bit. He goes, I want somebody to go in on me because, Michael Jai White's playing a badass in the movie, which he always is. I'm his little sidekick janitor. Can't give the movie away, but he wanted a little comedic element to it. And so literally that means there's an actor out there somewhere whose agent and manager called him for this movie, and I don't know if he had to audition or he didn't, or he thought he had a shot. And then I ended up getting it off just a phone call. Like I got an offer. So it goes both ways. Yeah, I remember when I auditioned for the movie College. I remember after you get done shooting and you talk to the producers and director and you're bullshitting with them, it just came up like, yeah, they were really on the fence about you. It was back and forth. Like the director and the casting director really liked me, but the studio wasn't sure. So the studio had somebody they wanted to play the part Bearcat in College, but the casting director and the director went to bat for me and ended up getting the part. So there, you never know. You always think I didn't get it, but there's times that you get something that somebody else is sitting there going, man, I wish I would have got that. And I'm at a point now where I'm happy when good things happen to good people. And so Lil Rel and him getting the part in Fatherhood, I'm happy for him. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna go see it and I'm gonna be a little like, damn, man, what the fuck? But I'm happy for him, and that's the only thing I would say to Monique. And I'm even Aries, the way he had said, I think he realized, whoa, sometimes I gotta hold my tongue sometimes. He said he said it in the interview. He goes, I like to be the Charles Barkley. I don't hold my tongue a lot. I go in, and honestly, it makes for good interviews. I watched all of Aries' interviews because you never know what's going to come out of his mouth, whether he's on Sway or Breakfast Club or Comedy Hype or Vlad TV. I watch him because you don't know what's coming out of his mouth because he is brutally honest. And some of the stuff, he has valid points, but I just think sometimes if you don't need to burn that bridge, you never know when it can come back around. And that's what I think with Monique going in on just everybody that's not agreeing with her. I go, you're just burning so many bridges. At some point, there's not going to be nobody left to hire you. I was happy to see her do that Childish Gambino short they did together, that 8-part series. Because when Monique's locked in, she's good. She gets locked in. She was good in that Childish Gambino little short he did. I'm not sure what it's for. But it was like an 8-part thing that just came out 6 months ago. I said, dang, now there's Monique locked in, focused on the business, man. And I'm sure somehow I'll bring this up to her and it'll come back. But I don't like to see people that are so talented not be able to utilize their talent is what it is. Because I think you don't have to agree with everybody's advice, but you don't have to go after them too when they give it to you. I've been given advice I didn't agree with, but I'm not going after people on interviews when I don't agree with them. It's such a powder keg right now. Jeez, I think it's just the state of the country. We all want to be angry for some reason. I'm more like, I don't want to be angry. Even the guy James Davis, I just want to know why isn't he fond of me? It doesn't affect my life at all, but I'm just like, what did I do? All right, man. Well, this is the happy-go-lucky Gary Owen podcast. I'll see you guys next week. If you want to listen to my podcast, just go to iTunes, search Gary Owen, #get some.